had a premonition. A demon attacked, and you jumped in front of a fireball to save me.
What'd he look like?
A creepy half face. Do you know who he is? Does he work for the Source?
He doesn't work for the Source, Phoebe. He is the Source.
All right, everybody. So, welcome to today's episode of the Wiccaning, a Charmed podcast. We are joined by a very, very special guest, Brooke Tuncbiz. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here, but I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm so glad. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this all week. And not just because I love Charmed and Dangerous, because it is one of my favorite episodes, but because I'll get a chance to talk with you. That's been the highlight of it because I, ever since I saw the first video that you did with like the outfits and you were just doing them based on each sister's style, I thought that like was so impressive. And then when I saw the edits that you were doing with the animations, and it's like it just blew my mind because they were so well put together. And I've loved you
Wow.
ever since. So, how did you get into Charmed?
Well, my story with Charmed is very long, like most of the fans. I am actually a 2000s baby. So I was born in 2000. And my dad was a fan of the show before, when it first came out, and he would watch the show. And so when I was a baby, he would watch the show and have me and, be like feeding me and hanging out with me. So I literally watched this show since I was born. And then growing up, it was like, I can't even describe it. It's like I've just always known this show and the characters, and they feel like family to me. And I was obsessed with it ever since. I would watch it. I would watch 2 episodes every single day after school. That would be my highlight of my day. And then from then on out, I've had periods where I watch it a little bit less and then I come back to it. And I've shown all the important people in my life this show, like my best friend when I was at university. We watched it together, my first time as an adult. Then I showed my husband, and I was like, wow, I'm actually, I used to watch this show when I was 5, 6, 7. Now I'm the age of the sisters watching the show. So it's always been in my life and always been my favorite show.
I love that so much because
Yeah.
it's such a testament to how we grow with this show. And it
Mm.
goes through all these different phases of life with us. And like you said, the fact that you're now that age that they were when the show started is crazy to think. Because
It's mind blowing. Yeah.
I remember when I was young, I remember thinking they were old, honestly. And now I'm like,
Mhm.
they were babies. They didn't even know what was
I
going on.
know. They were taking demons left and right, fireballs. Phoebe was like a kid, basically.
Mhm, mhm. Every time I watch it, I'm like, "There is no way at that age I would not have done that," and
No.
and that's so cool though. That's one of the things that I love the most about this fandom is that we do come from
Yeah.
different backgrounds, but we're all from different places, different parts of the world. Because that's how
Yeah.
you and I are right now. We're from different parts of the world completely talking about this show.
I know. And that was one of the things I didn't truly notice until I started to make videos. And I'm sure you feel the same way. You see these notifications coming in from everywhere, from Russia to Venezuela to France, Italy, Australia. And I was like, wow, the reach that this show has is insane. And the fact that people are still engaging with it from every corner of the world 20 years later is it just shows how lovable and incredible the characters and the show is.
Absolutely. You are
Yeah.
100% right. And speaking of
Mhm.
content, how did you get into making content? How did you get into the
Yeah.
idea for your videos?
Well, I did make similar videos when I was a kid. I would force my brother to film me and to like do the special effects, but they were horrendous. I remember on my iPhone 4, I would try and recreate Piper's powers. But the time so I only just started posting charm related stuff in October of last year.
Okay.
And I don't know why it just came to me. I was like, I'm an adult. I have free will. I can like, go and learn how to edit and put things together.
Mhm.
And so I did. I literally, that same day that I thought of the idea, I watched tutorials on how to use Adobe After Effects. I'd never done anything like that before. And I just thought, "Ah, you know what? I wish if I was 10 years old seeing myself now, I would think I'm the coolest person in the world,
Mhm.
being able to blow things up and, so I thought, why not do it? It's like a way of living, bringing out my inner child. And so I just thought, let me try it. And I've gotten a little bit better with each video, and it's just so fun.
I love it. I'm telling you that from the first moment I saw it, I was like, "This is the best thing that I have ever seen in my life,"
Thank
because
you.
you're so welcome. I'm more on the side where I like to talk about it, and so being able to see someone put these effects into place and bring it to life is just amazing. And I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling a bit about it, but I just really want you to know how truly, truly awesome you are and how much like even if I can't do anything else, I will
Thank
share you
you.
with everybody I know. Like you
No, and I really appreciate you always commenting, sharing everything because it really helps. And I'm sure so many people that have seen my videos have come from yours. I don't remember when exactly you started to post, but I remember seeing some of your videos coming up like it must be a few years ago now. And I think I was like, I think you were going in on Phoebe, and I was like, not Phoebe. And so I've seen your videos for years. And so one time when I saw that you'd commented, I was like, this feels like, it's like Chris is commenting on my
oh
video
my
or Leo or something.
god.
So I was honored. Thank you.
Well, I don't even know what to say to that. I'm like, wow. That's It's so funny because, like, sometimes it takes me back to what you said about, like, growing with the show, and I go back and I
Mm,
listen to some things that I said, and I'm like, I don't even know if I really thought that." And now because now my opinion of it has changed so
yeah.
greatly, and it's so beautiful to, like, have other people see the evolution and, like, be a part of that time where I was like, "Should I still be posting?" And here we are.
No, thank God you did. And I watched your recent podcast episode about, your journey as a fan and how your opinions have changed. And I feel like I'm maybe in the period where my opinions, I feel like they stick. And I'm like Piper till I die. And I ride for, the different sisters. So I really appreciated watching that episode and how your opinions have evolved and changed.
Well, thank you. I listen, some stuff won't change. There are some things that you
Never.
will just like through life, you're like, this is it. And then everything else
Yeah.
around it might change. But it is nice to always have that opening to where you're like, I am ready for if my mind is going to change, I'm going to embrace it. Because I think that's
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
makes a show worth watching. So, speaking of the show worth watching, we are here today to talk about Charmed and Dangerous. Now, this is one of my favorite episodes of the entire show for multiple reasons. We have the source coming directly after the Charmed ones for probably the first time. He is coming like hard for them. We have the sisters, two out of three of them lose their powers in this episode. Leo gets hit with the Dark Lighter arrow, so he is out of commission. This is the first time I think in this show we see our girls completely down and out. So, what do you think of this episode? Do you remember sort of what you felt when you first watched it, or have your opinions of it changed as years have gone on?
I think this was one of my favorite episodes when I was a kid because there's so much action and it's so intense. And I think that's what I really appreciated when I was younger, like the magic of it all and the powers and the explosions. And so I do think this is one of the best episodes. It's paced so amazingly. It's so intense. And, you really have that scare factor of like Leo's been shot with a dark lighter arrow for the second time ever, in 4 seasons. and you really don't know if they're going to make it. And of course, our girls pull through in the end. But yeah, it's an amazing episode.
It really is, and like you said, it
Mhm.
it has that feel to it, honestly, where you don't know if they're going to survive. Like, they're going
Yeah,
to from a from a practical standpoint,
yeah.
but in the moment, it really feels like they could go
Mhm.
at any moment. Speaking of the magic this episode, we're introduced to the concept of the hollow. This ancient magic that good and evil had to join forces to not even get rid of it, but just to lock it away. So,
Yeah.
watching this episode, how did you feel about the hollow? Did you feel like it really was that powerful entity that they made it out to be? Do you wish we had seen a little bit more of what it could do? Or do you feel like we got enough?
I mean, I think The Hollow is definitely it's a good starting point because we see it so many times throughout the seasons, especially towards the end, season 7 and 8. But I think, it's scary enough. Like the idea that you cannot use a power against this thing, like the second you do anything, it takes it from you is terrifying. Like, I remember watching it, back in the day and thinking, "Oh my god, like, Piper can't freeze. This is terrible. Someone needs to come and help ASAP." So, I think it's definitely scary, the idea that you can't attack this straight on. You have to think around it, and that makes it really dangerous.
Yes, especially because their natural instinct is just
Mm,
to freeze, or like even when Paige calls for the crossbow, that's the first thing
yeah,
that she goes to do without even registering in her mind that she doesn't need to. And I think you're absolutely right that makes it the most terrifying part of this episode completely. Like the source has found a way to neutralize their magic, absolutely. And they can't there's really nothing that they can do. And we do see at a certain point where it breaks them. Like Paige starts to think they're all just gonna die because they don't have a way to actually combat it. And with Leo being, taken out, if something does happen, they can't be healed. Which, that's another conversation because you would think that the elders would have stepped in at that point, but they said, "Hey, listen."
I know. Yeah. Take them down. Take them all down. Those damn elders. Never getting involved when they're needed. Always when
Never.
they're not.
But then they come at the end of the season. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead, but they come at the end
Yeah.
of the season and they're like, "We got something nice for you, if you want it."
Yeah,
I know that that's the angel of destiny, but I feel like they sent him.
of course.
But you're so right with that, and it adds also that level that Phoebe is the last one with her powers, and so it
Mhm.
does almost feel like, okay, where do we go from here? Because if Phoebe is the
Yeah.
only one with her powers and it's not one that she can actively use against a demon,
Mhm.
then not what good are they, but how can it actually help? Did you?
100%. And I think that tension works really well with having Phoebe be the last sister because it's like the sisters and Leo, they're dropping like flies throughout the episode. And then you have Phoebe at the end, and it's like, well, what is she gonna she's not gonna permission the source to death. So
Mhm,
what is she gonna do? But I think it really sets her up nicely for this being, in my opinion, this is Phoebe's episode.
mhm,
She comes in clutch with the spell, with the vanquishing spell, with the idea to summon the powers, being the final sister with her powers left. And she says that, there's still one sister left and they're not going to give up. And I think that really, despite all the odds being stacked up against her, this is when I love Phoebe the most, when she is the last one to give up and she's still ready to go for it and she's not going to, give in despite everything being stacked against her.
mhm, mhm. And it goes you're so right, and I think that speaks to Phoebe having this belief in herself, a belief in
Mhm.
magic, and that things are going to work out, and it works in their favor in the end, and you're so right, like, this is definitely a Phoebe episode because it puts her
Mhm.
in the center, not just with that, but also her situation with Cole. So, at
Mhm.
this in this episode, Phoebe gets a vision of Cole being attacked by the demon, and that she doesn't know is the source just yet. And she wants to protect him. Her natural instinct is to stop him from even being in the house because she doesn't want anything to happen to him. And what I kind of got from that was that this is her maybe overcompensating for the fact that he can't protect himself, and she
Mm.
doesn't want to lose him. She's already lost Prue, and she's like, even though it's a night situation that happens, she wants him gone from the house as soon as possible. Um, so what did you think of Cole this episode? Because he had a lot to do himself. He wasn't just an innocent bystander in it. So did you feel like they could have utilized Cole a little bit more, or do you feel like what he did was just understated enough to be impactful, especially with how the story focuses on him going forward?
Yeah, I think it nicely weakens Cole just before, this his big arc that comes up in the next few episodes. So I think it's nice the kind of trouble that Phoebe's having. Like, I want Cole to be protected and involved, and the roles are almost reversed. He's used to being there to protect her, and now all of a sudden she's the one having to protect him. They've recently lost their sister, so the threat of death is very real. And of course, it works out perfectly because if Phoebe was just to turn around and tell Cole there's a demon with half a face, he would know instantly who it was, and it would change the whole episode. So it works out from a logistical perspective that they have to keep Cole in the dark and figure things out for themselves. But I do like Cole in this episode. I feel like it's him in his final stage before his storyline really goes left. And he just wants to be with Phoebe. He wants to protect her, knowing fine well he could die. He
Mhm,
doesn't care. He is really good Cole in this episode, right
mhm,
up until that final part. He will do anything. And I think that's ultimately why, the seer is able to use him and use him taking in the hollow to, enact her beginnings of her plan.
mhm, mhm. I absolutely agree. Like, that part of human Cole that really loves
Mm,
Phoebe was her little wiggle room in there. Because what I love the
yeah,
most about the seer is she realizes that she can't really do too much herself, and she is willing to put Cole in the middle of it. But I think that is a super ingenious plan, because not only does it achieve what she ultimately wanted to achieve, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but it also gives her that in to have the power there so she can then go to Phoebe and they can cast the spell, and they don't have to worry about the magic being all, scattered around. That is such a good point. That was such a good plan from her, and I really think it was a good display from Cole to show how much at that point, like you said, he would do whatever he needed to do to save her.
yeah.
If he needed to sacrifice himself, if he needed to put himself in harm's way, it's fine because he loves her. So speaking of the seer and the source are very funny to me this episode, because the source is just off his rocker. He is just losing it piece by piece every single day or every single moment. And the seer is constantly trying to warn him how dangerous this is, but he does not care. And I personally enjoyed that part of the storyline because I think it shows how much of a threat the charmed ones are, even though they're still very new to magic. They've only been witches for a couple of years. Paige has only been a witch for a couple of months at this point. And the fact that the source is willing to tap into like this ancient taboo magic to take them out, number one, goes to show that he knows he's not powerful enough to stop them, but then also that he is that threatened by them. And it makes me wonder if any other source has ever been afraid of a witch like that. Probably not, but it did start to make me think of that. So, did you have any thoughts about the source this episode? Were there anything that was just fun?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with everything you just said. I feel like it's really interesting to, before this, we see the source as kind of this like cloaked figure in the background. We see a bit more of him as season 4 progresses, but here you really get a sense that he is scared. Like he is scared of our girls. They obviously start with that vision where Paige essentially takes the source out solo in the seer's vision by orbing the crystals, which is like, oh my God, Paige, you are so powerful. But yeah, so I feel like they really start with this like fear factor that like plants a seed in the source's head. And then everything is just exacerbated by the hollow and the corruption of the power. And I think that's where they do the hollow some justice because you can really see how and why this thing was banished. You know, like, yeah, sure, you get all this power, but in the course of a few hours, this guy who is the source of all evil is losing it and becoming unreliable. And so I think that, you know, it's nice to see him before he departs. At the end of the episode, it's nice to see him as more of like a 3D character that has fears and has concerns rather than just like this, you know, all powerful, all knowing being.
Mhm, mhm. Because he has been so in the background up to this point. Even when he would make himself known, he was always working through others. So like you said,
Yeah.
it bumps up that sense of urgency that he's actually here himself, that he's
Mhm.
actually summoning the demons. He's the one that went to the hollow. Like you said, it fleshes him out and it lets us know even when Cole says that he lost his that half of his face in the battle that brought him to power, that lets us know that he had to fight to get to this point
Mhm.
anyway. So he's definitely going to do anything that he can to hold on to it because look at all that he lost just even trying to get the position. So you are so right. You are so, and I think that that adds a little bit to what happens with Cole when he is possessed by the source is because we know
Mhm.
that the source is this entity that has fears and concerns and a self-preservation spirit. It does make a lot more sense from that perspective that he's making Cole operate in these different ways and that Cole is able to suppress him because if the essence itself is based in emotion, of course Cole is going to be that is such a good point. I have never thought about that before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've never pieced it with the coal stuff as well. It really is like they add so much dimension to this character before taking him out.
Mhm.
But of course, he's not really taken out. He's just moved into coal, so it makes a lot of sense to like imbue him with this personality before he moves into coal, because then we can recognize what is coal and what is the source rather than, you know, it being like a flat character. So I think they actually do the source some real justice in this episode. And I think that is, like you said, what builds the tension and what makes it like so scary from both sides because the
Mhm.
fear is there for the sisters, of course, and the fear is there for the source. So that really like ramps up the tension.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that scene where he goes to the vault or crypt or whatever to get
Mhm.
the hollow out of it, I don't we don't have to get too deep into it, but it just always tickles me a little bit that they have this random angel and this random demon here who,
Yeah.
old girl doesn't even have she didn't even try to fight him off. And then the demon,
No.
he just throws some lightning at him, which is not enough to kill him. So I was like, what was the plan?
I know. I know. Like these are the best people and they're just like casually playing chess. This is one of the things though that I love because Charmed is like it's so 2000s. It's so cringe. I love that the angel has a halo. It's so on the nose and they're playing chess like black and white, good and evil. And so I think it, you know, it is typical Charmed. It's
Mhm.
typical on the nose, cringy Charmed, and I love that. I love that part of it, you know?
And not to be too whatever here, but I could absolutely see you dressing like her because she had you have the same presence as her, very like regal almost, very like even
Oh
just
my
talking to
god.
you, I don't want because I'm just like you have this very unique silhouette about you. And like right here, the
Oh my god.
aesthetic and whatever else. And I'm not trying to, I promise you, I promise I'm not trying to fangirl again, but just
No,
Well,
I'm so obsessed. Tell me more. I'm just kidding.
I just always
Thank
appreciate that
you.
in a person because it's I think it's rare to feel that kind of energy off of someone, that very
Wow.
nice. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but like I said, it's almost ethereal. It's very angelic, and that's the vibe you give off. Is the same one as her because I love the way even when she stood up and like her hair was still perfectly
Yeah.
coiffed, and she's just like, yeah,
Yes.
like she was so pretty. And when she said,
Yeah.
like, she stood up and she was firm and her voice was firm, but she didn't have to scream. It was just a very specific thing. And I think that was the
Mhm.
perfect representation of a good being. And like I said, you remind me of that because you have that same kind of like composure. And I know I don't know what you're like in your everyday life, so but just of what I've seen, like you have that energy.
Essence. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Thank you. I will be taking the job as the Hollow Guardian since,
Mhm.
she got took out. Um,
Mhm.
but no, I didn't really think about it because sometimes you kind of overlook those things. But you're right. She is really like powerful without being, domineering or
Mhm.
dominant.
Mhm.
And the fact that the source can just take her out like that says a lot about the source. And that really like adds to our fear. Like he's just taken out two guardians who've been there for 3,000 years.
Mhm.
How are the Hallowells gonna, stand up to this guy?
Mhm.
Plus he has the hollow. So I think little things like that is where this episode really it really builds the tension so nicely and leads up to when they finally face off really, really well.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of that face off, that is probably my favorite part of this episode. It genuinely felt like somebody's not making it out of this room. And
Yeah.
usually when they fight a demon, I mean, get that feeling anyway. You know that it's dangerous, but this is the first time where it's like, which one of them is not coming out of this alive? And even down to the fact that Piper is knocked out for most of it. Piper is completely out of it. And Paige has no idea what's going on. She's freaking out. Phoebe is trying to keep herself in some level of control. And this is a random observation that has nothing to do with anything. But the fact that Leo is just downstairs, bleeding out on the couch for the entirety of this fight, I don't know why it tickles me, but it's like it just I think that's what makes this show feel a little more, well, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but the fact that all this happens in their house. It's not some
Yeah.
location that they go out to. It's not some we have a command center where we go and fight the evil. It's in their home. It's there. So you could be fighting a demon and your sister could be sleeping in another room, Leo is downstairs and they're up there. And it just feels more frightening from that perspective that all this is happening in what's supposed to be a person's safe space.
No, I didn't even think about that, but you're so right. And it's like the fact that Piper's having to face the ultimate evil while her husband is dying downstairs, it really does make it that more scarier. Like there's nowhere to run. They can't run back
Yeah.
home. They
Mhm,
can't orb home. They can't orb at all right now. But
mhm.
it is like they're backed into a corner almost. That's the feeling that we get. And the only place left is that attic. And that's where it's gonna go down. We've been teased it from the beginning of the episode. We see that scene take place in the attic. Then we see the premonition in the attic, and we know, like, slowly, bit by bit, they're going to move their way up there and they're going to fight the source. And another thing that I think kind of lends into that is the fact that we see Paige. This is one of her first times where she really understands what's going on. Like she's
Mhm.
not, a couple days into it. She knows she could die.
Yeah.
She knows enough without knowing too much. She's not, too experienced, but she knows something really could go down and one of them could die. And in those moments, she uses her extra time to help somebody.
Yes.
And I think that adds so nicely. Like she's really considering the fact that she may die, and with that time, she is helping this lady and helping an innocent, and the fact that she's using personal gain magic kind of adds to that too. Like,
Mhm.
she is not worried about the consequences because there may be bigger consequences at hand.
And even Daryl is like, "Okay, you're using this magic for this. This is not right. Like
Yeah,
something big must be happening." And
yeah,
you're
yeah,
so right. It watching Paige's episode deal with the fact that she could die. Like you made a really great observation that before Paige has known that the situations were dangerous, but this is the first time where she genuinely is aware she might not
yeah,
have the ability to save herself. I love it because I think she's gotten kind of comfortable with her sisters are going to be able to figure a way out of this. They'll be able to help
yeah,
her, something like that. But now she's in the thick of it. This is what the training has been for. This is what everything has led to is her being able to keep calm in this moment. And her not having her powers is just my God. Um the source in this particular scene, I almost feel like he got a little too cocky. He really thought that because he had their powers and could use them against them. I just feel like if he had just blown him up, then we wouldn't have gotten this scene,
oh
instead
my god, yeah.
it's
I
it
wish
just
in this house, when the demons show up, they need to learn to shoot fireballs and talk later because
is
every single one does it. Like, seriously, why are you chatting first and then fighting? You
exactly.
know?
And the witches whose powers are tied to their emotions, it might not be best to rile them up right before you're
No.
in a fight.
Mm.
Like that's probably not the greatest thing to do. But but with the help of the seer in a direct way and an indirect way, they are able to vanquish him. So Cole comes in, he takes that fireball, and they instantly realize, like, oh, okay, this is not good. And they're able to go ahead, say the spell, vanquish him. And the seer immediately grabs Phoebe and they do the spell to banish the hollow out of Cole. So how did you feel at the conclusion of it? Were you still just like, is he coming back? Was there that kind of moment of like, is he really gone or where do we go?
Yeah, I think they do a nice job of not letting the tension completely die. You know, where sometimes there's this really big build and then it can feel anticlimactic, but
Mhm,
because there's still that lingering question of like, the seer's still here. Where are the powers? Where did the source go? It's like the tension kind of sits there simmering,
mhm,
and they do a good job of keeping that like pulse going. And I remember thinking like, what does this mean? Like,
mhm,
if the powers are back in the sisters, where did the source's powers go?
mhm,
I had more questions. And I think that's good because rather than getting all the answers, like they leave you hungry for figuring out a bit more. And then that tease of the seer when she does the line, what does she say? She says, into
into
the
the
void.
void.
And I was like, "Oh my god, this is such a good line delivery." The
Mhm,
way she lets the audience know there's definitely something else going on.
mhm,
So I really like that ending and that like conclusion
mhm.
to the build of the episode.
Mhm. Absolutely agreed. I think they did an amazing job, even to giving us this little taste of what Paige's powers could be by her helping to heal Leo. Like, even that, I mean, they
Yeah.
really set up so much in that moment. And they kept, like you said, they kept that momentum going. They kept the magic going. And I think that's the most important thing is they grounded it back to this is what the sisters can do when they have magic in their hands is they can do these great things. And of course we get the iconic moment at the end of the episode where they're all celebrating and Phoebe hugs Cole and says that he's her hero and he says he's no one's hero and we see the source eyes flash.
Mhm.
Were you
Yeah.
excited when you saw that?
You know what? I was because part of me loves Evil Cole. I really do. There's something so fabulous about it and like his villainous era, and I love when he's fighting with himself. I feel like
Mhm,
that's why he really shines
mhm,
because he gets to do this like very multifaceted, acting,
mhm,
and his
mhm.
character's so much more juicy when he's got all these different sides to him. Like one minute he's saving someone and he's good, and then he's doing the very opposite. So I was super excited with that flash, and it's such a good cliffhanger.
Yes, yes,
So good.
I could not imagine, like, if they had made that the season finale. If that had actually been the end of the season and we had to wait, I just
Oh my god, chills.
right. I would've been like, "Girl, let me watch this episode again and again and again." But no, you're so right. They did such a good job of setting up what was about to come, and Julian McMahon, may he rest in peace, is like he brought so much of that amazing like smolder to the character where it
Mm,
was like you could see the pain in his eyes at any given moment, and he just, I mean, he knocked it out of the park completely.
100%, 100%.
This has been so fun. I'm glad that we had a chance to just kind of chit chat, go through the episode, and just have us a cool discussion about it. But before we do end, is there anything else about this episode you wanted to talk? A favorite scene or a favorite theme or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, since a lot of my videos are about the fashion and the outfits of the characters and of the show, I have recently when I'm rewatching the show, I take a little bit more of a closer look into the clothes, and maybe rather than just like think about it as more of like a symbolism
Mhm,
rather than just what looked good. And I think that this episode is actually one of the most important in terms of their outfits and the symbolism, because sometimes there's not that much to read into it. It's just
mhm,
like, this is a Phoebe outfit, this is a Piper outfit, but in this one each sister wears a shade of red. Phoebe has red trousers,
mhm.
Piper has a red top, and Paige has a really kind of like um large red necklace. And
Yeah.
so I was trying to think like what could have been, the symbolism behind this. Why did the costume department pick this? And I think that, the red instantly, subconsciously as an audience, we are like, we know there's something intense, there's danger, red signals danger. And I think that they did it really nicely that each sister has a different piece of clothing so that it actually makes like one red outfit together, because it shows their symbol, their unity. It shows their connection and their different roles that they play. Phoebe in this episode, she is like the strength. She is the one that kind of keeps it all together. Piper's like the emotions are all over the place in her heart. Leo's dying. And then Paige is just a little necklace, she's not fully in it yet. Her heart's not fully there. She's just like that final piece of red that they need, but she's not as into it as the other sisters. And then I think that it also ties into the idea of like bloodline, because that is the piece that kind of
Yeah.
finally finishes the source, is calling on their bloodline, calling on their ancestors. And so the fact that each sister has a different piece that kind of ties them all together, that shows what role they play, I thought was, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think that on an episode like this, I wouldn't put it past costume to kind of like put that towards us, the danger, the bond and everything. So I did really like that actually.
Oh my god. That no, you don't understand that's my new headcanon. You just created like the perfect but it makes so much sense, especially with
Yeah.
Paige having the necklace and not being as
Yes.
involved in what's going on, and she's wearing different
Mhm.
colors from them. So even aesthetically, we're reminded that she's almost separate from them, but not.
Yes.
She's part of them, but
Yeah.
not. Oh my god. And then, I mean, just even on like I don't know a specific level, but like to what you're saying, even more, it's like you could almost see it as what if Phoebe borrowed one of Piper's, pairs of pants
Yeah.
and whatever else. And so that's why they're wearing these things that can connect and tie them because that's who they are. And then Paige
Yeah.
just has her necklace because, oh my God,
Uh-huh.
like I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care if it is overreading. I love it.
Yeah. I love to overread, and it's like, a necklace is so easy to put on and off.
Mhm,
She's not as tied in as the other sisters. She could just take that necklace right off. And we see her in the episode, she's fighting between her destiny as a charmed one and her destiny as a social worker and helping people. And
mhm,
she's kind of like she's in and she's out. And I think from this episode onwards is where you really see them become like maybe trauma bonded, maybe,
mhm,
bonded through the fact that they've killed their like biggest enemy today.
mhm.
And I think that, I really like that aspect of it. And it's something I pay more attention to now because of, making these outfit videos. So I really like that.
Oh my God. I love that. I love listening to their perspective because fashion really does have such a huge place on TV. But especially in like 90s and 2000 shows where
100%.
they had such a unique, I think, aesthetic to them. And it just I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Love it. So speaking of your videos, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on TikTok, Brooke Tuncbiz, Tuncbiz, and also on YouTube with the same name, Brooke Tuncbiz. I only make charm videos on TikTok and I do like vlogging and other stuff on YouTube. But if anyone wants to see either, then, I would absolutely love that.
Awesome. Okay, and I'll put the direct links in the description so they can go right to you. They don't have to
Thank
do too
you.
much searching. They can just hit a button. So this
Perfect. Thank you so much.
you are so welcome. This has been so much fun, and like you've opened my eyes and helped me to watch this show from a new perspective. I can't wait to go back and watch the episode again now.
Yeah, yeah, 100. Do it. See what you think. And any other bits of red that tie in, like the Sia, there's lots of red is really the color of this episode.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
true. I didn't even think about that with the seer with her red,
yeah,
but
the
she's
Sia.
fully in red. So she's like
Hmm.
one solid entity where they're broken up into
Yeah,
pieces and they have to oh my god.
yeah, 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 yeah. And at
Oh,
the end, they're the two coming together, the sisters and the Sia to banish the hollow. Yeah, it's really
yeah.
amazing. So watch this episode with red in mind, everyone.
Yeah, please, please do. Oh my god.
Yeah,
This is just amazing, and I cannot wait to share my thoughts with you when I actually watch the episode from their perspective to see if I saw anything
yeah.
else. I'm so grateful that you came on today.
No, thank you so much for having me. And I've loved watching all of your other podcast episodes, all of your videos. I'm like in my bed at 2 a.m. cackling to them all. You truly are amazing at what you do. So funny, so personable. So I'm honored to be on the podcast. And, if you ever want a guest in the future, I'll be back.
Oh, baby, you have an open invitation, I promise you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap this episode on up here. So everyone head on over to TikTok and YouTube and follow Brooke. The links will be in the bio. And we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.